Hi and good evening and welcome to another edition of In the Metal. In the Metal is the online chat that goes behind the scenes of independent watchmaking, where we get the opportunity to talk to some of the incredible people who are behind some of the most extraordinary watches being manufactured today. I said it before, I'll say it again. I think these are the kind of watches that in years to come will be museum pieces. So we've been very fortunate so far. We've had absolute stellar list of the very finest watchmakers in the world, and tonight it is no exception. We continue that, and even more so, it's a guy whose company, whose everything about them is close to my heart. He's a fellow Irishman and a world-renowned master watchmaker. The watches that this guy makes, there's a waiting list for. Well, we're going to find out, but they're all hand manufactured, painstakingly put together, and absolutely exquisite timepieces. So, but I don't think I would be able to go through this whole show on my own. So I am going to see if my friend over in North Carolina is there to be able to help me out with this. Dan Spitz, are you here?
What's up, Johnny boy?
What is the story, my man? How are things going with you?
How's the green beer, bro?
It's not Irish.
It's not fair today. It's not fair today. It's like two of you Irishmen against one American. It's not.
This is it.
I'm already. I'm on the bottom now already.
You're up against it tonight, my man. But
I know, and I can speak from truth because I played there many times. I love. I love Ireland, and we'll get into that. But yeah, who we have on tonight is, again, I don't know how we're so blessed, but he's one of my idols and one of, I would say, independent watchmaking's the birth of modern day independent watchmaking. Idols for all of us. He set so many new pathways for all of us on how to do things. And when he released some of his early timepieces, I'm not going to talk about names or anything now because I'm just like a little brown-nosed in introduction, but it blew all our minds, and I don't even think he realizes how ahead of the time like his Tuscar is. This timepiece is still 10 to 12 years ahead of its time.
It's astonishing.
There's no doubt. It's across the board. That's coming from me. Yeah. There's only probably two watches that I would wear by another watchmaker, and that's the one. The other one is, I mean.
Well, sorry, I cut across.
Incredible.
The other one is
Eva.
Eva Lodge. Wow. Right. Okay. Absolutely.
I like people who break the box, break the mold.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's their own brain. It's their own art. It's not following a trend. It's
absolutely. They're rewriting the rule book.
Look at my past music. It didn't get discovered. It's still being discovered now for what it was way back when. And that's true art. That's true innovators, because that's what foundations of the future are built upon. Is the past, and it's okay to borrow a little, and not okay to rip off a lot. So I like those people that borrow a little and just go for it, man. And man, this dude blew it out of the water.
And to put it in perspective, because I know there's a few. I've press ganged a few of my friends into watching this occasionally, and we've bribed them and offered to set their children free and things like that. But for some of my friends in Ireland, I grew up thinking that the world, that the world of watches began and ended with the likes of Rolex, Patek Philippe, and marks that got there that I would see in the advertised in the Sunday newspapers or something like that. I had no idea when I first got into watches in about 2004 that there was this other world called independent watchmaking, and by chance I fell into it. I had to write a little blog to support an old website of mine, and that's when I started writing about watches. And as I started writing about them, I started receiving press releases from different watch people who I'd never heard of before. I started looking into this, and I discovered this other world. And around about 2007, 2008, I kind of made the decision: independence is the route for me. Stephen McGonigle, the man we're about to introduce just now, I saw his watch and I just could not believe it. Could not believe it. It was on a different, you talk about being in a different level. This is on a different universe to the big brand names, even the prestigious grande maisons like Patek Philippe. This is on a completely different level. And so here we've kept Stephen sitting there. He'll run out of beer by the time
he's probably ran out of beer. He's going for
So I think it's time we should pop over to Neuchâtel and welcome Stephen McGonigle. How the hell are you?
How are you, lads? How are you keeping?
How you doing, Stephen?
I'm mortified with that introduction. I was thinking, who are they talking about? They must have me confused with a different Stephen McGonigle.
You're that old Irish modesty, you know, that in the start of the evening we're all, you know, oh Jesus, or you know, that's at the end of the night, you know, we're singing your name out like you're shouting and roaring. So fantastic to have you along on In the Metal. I'll better put a little place note up there. So fantastic to have you up. I'm
delighted to be. I mean, Dan, I've been in touch with Dan for many years now. I can't remember when I got in contact with you first, but this actually, it's very odd, but it's actually the first time we've spoken. I mean, we've been in touch constantly, but spoken. So this is brilliant. And of course, Johnny, talking to you is always good. So,
Steve, always a pleasure indeed. It's been fantastic catching up with you over the last number of weeks. Finding out what's going on, and in this very strange time. But thankfully, you tell me that, you know, yes, it's been difficult for everyone, but you're busy, and I notice that to be a trend among the independent guys, more so than the big brands who are relying on their high street retailers, which are all closed down.
Yeah.
You guys have a different route to market, and you're not so reliant on, for example, Grafton Street in Ireland or anything like that. There, you've got a different route to market. So you've been busy. So that's fantastic. Anyway,
hey Johnny, can I before we go any further, can I do that thing I mentioned beforehand?
You absolutely.
Hey, Dan, I have Thursday is a very special day today. I have a nephew, Thomas. He's the big 1-0 today. It's his 10th birthday, and myself and Katrina were planning to be there to see him on his birthday, but with this interview, it was going to be a bit tricky before or after. So I thought it'd be really cool if a rock legend and Johnny yourself, of course, wished him a happy birthday, and then we'll quickly move on. But that'd be great if you could wish Thomas a happy 10th birthday.
What's his name? I'm cutting out here on this end.
It's Thomas.
Hey, Thomas. Happy 10th birthday, dude.
Wow.
Okay, I don't want
to. He's buying you a Les Paul guitar, the best one in the store.
Here, it's my birthday too.
Hey, it's not even been recorded.
Happy birthday to you, Thomas.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We pulled.
Oh,
go ahead. Okay. Dan, I don't know if you can hear us, or maybe I wish you're good. You're good.
Yeah, you guys are getting that too. We got a little technical difficulties here, it seems, huh?
That's here every time we say, you know, how smooth this thing works. You know, it guaranteed there's going to be a one or two hang-ups, but no, so, it seems to be good.
I think we're good now. So Stephen, I wasn't kidding when I said, you know, the Tuscar when you released that and came out with that's so far into the future, and we'll get to that. But what I like to do and start out with a little bit is there's the usual kind of background of schooling, so other watchmakers or people maybe thinking about going down the same route that you and I have, and other masters such as yourself. You know, where you started. I know that your father was a clockmaker, from what I understand, and kind of pushed you into getting into school, and perhaps you had a rough upbringing somewhere, you know, that brought you to independence. like many of us do. I'm not picking on you. I think a lot of us who don't do good in school, I hated school. I mean, I had my guitar. You know, I cut out of school anytime I could to go home and jam on my guitar. I didn't fit in school. An intelligent being, but that place is not for me. It wasn't to be confined in a room and someone teaching at a certain pace. Their pace is not my pace. I like to go very fast and learn on my own. Hence why Google is my friend. But you perhaps have a story that you can tell all of us. Back out of your schooling, I know you went to, just fill us in so I don't have to.
Yeah, I suppose there is similarities for sure. I mean, I didn't, it's not that I didn't enjoy school, perhaps maybe more so that I was a little lazy. But I, like when I enjoyed a subject, then I did well in it, simply because I enjoyed it. But if otherwise I wasn't interested in it, often I'd, as we said in Ireland, I'd be mitching most of the time. So, so there probably was a certain truth to the fact that, you know, I had aspirations of doing engineering or even architecture for a few years. And I quickly realized, you know, you had to work to get those, to get into those courses. And I fell into watchmaking very late. And I have to confess, in the beginning, when I considered it was a lazy option. You know, I was following John, and my dad, of course, was doing the clocks and all the rest. I wasn't massively interested in it, but as soon the day I did the bench test for the college, that was it. I was hooked. I thought it was brilliant, and I suppose that's real luck, because I not that I didn't fall into it because it was the history with John and my dad, but I didn't go chasing it. I was looking for the easy option, you know, and it just so happened it would have been awful if I'd taken it and hated it, but it was quite the opposite. So yeah, Dan, a bit like, you know, it was a bit like you. School wasn't for me, but at the same time, once I'm interested in something, I can't let it go. So. Mm-hmm. Funny like that, yeah. But
so you went to school in Ireland for in the beginning of watchmaking, and then where did that take you?
Yeah, so I did the 3 years at the Irish Swiss Institute of Horology in Dublin, and
such a shame that's gone, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's a tragedy.
Because folks, if you don't realise, there actually isn't a watchmaking school in Ireland anymore, and this was a fantastic setup. That
same thing happened here. I did like 4 years at the Bulliva School of Watchmaking in Jamaica, Queens, New York. And the same thing, that school is gone after, I don't know, 40, 50 years. I was actually the last graduating like class and student. And they actually gave me one of the watchmaking benches, like a solid cherry bench. Because
wow, that's a nice parting gift.
I completed the course kind of fast, and they were just, I don't know. I just said, I'm taking this, and they didn't stop me.
Who's going to fucking argue with you at all?
Yeah, it was a gift.
You know?
And how about this? How about this lathe? And how about? So where did you go after that?
So like I had plans on almost my plan. My wish was to go directly to Switzerland, but at that time it was nigh on impossible to get directly into Switzerland. I mean,
meaning what step?
No, employment. Getting a visa was very, very difficult at the time. And despite, like at this stage, there's a bit of an age gap between me and John. So he was already in Switzerland, working in Switzerland. He was in Automata Breguet. And the idea of, even with, you know, his connections and help he could give me, it didn't happen straight away. Having said that, again, thanks to John's connections I got and Peter Speak, I got a job in Piccadilly in London, working for Sonnerie Antiques. At the time, again, some of this is, I mean, some of the entity of that workshop, Sonnerie Antiques, hasn't disappeared, but a little bit of the history there. You had the big workshop in Asprey. You had some antiques, and you even had the other one at the time, the jewelry store. I can't remember, but Asprey's is gone completely, as far as I know. But anyway, I got a job in some antiques, and I was really reluctant to go. I was so hell bent on going to Switzerland that this news that I got this job in, I was like so spoiled in a way, because, I got it because of John knowing Peter Speak, and Peter Speak sorted me out with the job. And like I was 20 or something, and here I was going straight into some antiques, working on amazing restoration. So every day a new piece, a vintage watch, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful watches, and always different work. It was very tough because my workshop manager, the guy who ran the workshop, he was he was really tough. Steve Hale is his name, and he now runs that business. Not so much as Ensemble Antiques, but in of itself, it's Steve Hale's workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the guys are still there that I worked with. But
Wow.
Steve didn't beat about the bush. He basically told me in the first couple of months that if I didn't really speed up and really, start working to his, speed was important.
Mm.
And that's tough when you're coming out of school, because speed is never an issue in
No,
school.
it's
You
not. It's the
learn
opposite.
first. Yeah, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
So it was a real kick in the pants, but I mean, it was amazing. It was 3, 4, 5 months of hell, real hell. But at the same time, he taught me things. It put me on a road that it literally accelerated my career. So I was able to go to Switzerland, and my first watch in Switzerland, I did a minute repeater, and I don't think I could have done it as, maybe not as well, but it's certainly not as efficiently or as fast if it wasn't for the some antiques
And where did you land in Switzerland at first? What company?
So as soon as I'd gone to, I don't know the timelines on John's side exactly, but when I was in London, he had already moved to Claret, and I only spent 1 year in London, and Claret. John organized. Claret was unlike. He's still unlike anybody else, but at the time he was unlike any other company as far as visas went. Because I can tell you all this now because it doesn't matter. But at the time, he'd employ people with no visa. He didn't give a shit. He was just like, all he wanted was the work done by good people, and that was it. And he didn't care how it happened. So John organized a bench test for me because Christophe needed people, and I went over for a bench test, and it was quite tough bench test over 3 or 4 days, and I passed the bench test, and I quit my job it's insane. I was 21, 22 at the time. I quit my job in London and moved to Switzerland, and my first watch was a minute repeater.
Amazing. It's incredible. I think people need to understand too, because I know one time I was up at Audemars Piguet in Le Brassus, and at that time, Christophe Claret was really not a brand. He was doing stuff for other people, but it was so massive and underground at that time. People need to understand what Christophe Claret means to independence. We know now he's they call it independent, but it's really about it. But who came through there? Who he hired? And you just heard a story from Stephen. Like, he would just hire you. He was testing to find the best, because his ideas of what he wanted to produce were also light years ahead of he creates his own CNC machines now. He pushes the CNC people nowadays to make more and more axis CNC machines to our precision that have never been done before, because he still has stuff in his brain he's creating, and he's a force, and he was a good launching pad for many watchmakers who kind of feathered through there, and he let watchmakers be watchmakers if you really were one, which is, he didn't decompartmentalize everybody, which is an incredible feat. So you're trudging through Switzerland in the cold winters, gaining knowledge at a very, very young age, man. That's just killer, absolutely killer. And I know that you ended up where, Breguet, being one of the head of complications, from what I understand, right?
I was head of after sales for complications, So that was a brilliant experience as well, because I was left to my own devices, and I got to do amazing pieces, Breguet pieces. You know, I remember getting even one of the commission pieces that among the complications, it was a minute repeater, a tourbillon, and it had an equation of time, but nobody knew how the equation of time worked. There was no record, there was no plans, there was no record of how it worked. I had to figure out how it worked, but I mean, it was amazing. It was so class to do it, you know. And I also worked on with Martin Peters, who is the.
Okay, we're sorry, folks. There's the occasional little glitch here. But,
because.
Go ahead.
Check 1 2 1 2. Even if you could hear us, we lost you for a brief second.
Yeah.
Come back,
Stephen. Yeah, if you want to maybe try what we discussed earlier on, Stephen, and see if you can log out and come back in again, and we'll keep the seat warm for you. And it's just that Stephen's image has frozen. His connection seems to be. So if you here we were talking about this earlier, Dan. We were saying that, you know, how great this works and that there's never a problem with it.
You said a word, man.
Hey, man, I know it's a kiss of death. It's a kiss of death, like, you know.
We got some good Irish luck.
Hopefully so. So can you hear us, Stephen? Okay, we're still having a little bit of a glitch. Yep, that's the thing.
While Stephen's logging in and logging back out, I'll just touch upon a few of the things so whoever's watching can understand the road that a lot of us go on, and especially Stephen back then in the old man era, was we didn't have the internet, we didn't have information like this. So as you're starting to see, once again, every person that I interview who's the master, the road they took was always, I need to get to Switzerland. I need to get to Switzerland, because it wasn't just to go to Switzerland. It was, that's how we could gain the knowledge and learn. It was the only place, because all the knowledge that Stephen was looking to get, or when I was looking to get back then, say when I was at the Bulliver School or a young child, we know it was hidden within those walls of Switzerland. And the only way we could go get it, you couldn't get it in a book. It was impossible. The only way to get it was somehow I got to get to Switzerland. And that's quite difficult if you think about it. If someone has children, if they're married, I mean, how do you do that? How do you just, you know, how do you get the papers to go there and live? It's another country. Where are you going to live? And so on and so forth. That's why WOSTEP opened up so many doors for so many watchmakers, as you've seen in this series. But, you know, Stephen did it at a very young age and ended up head of complications at Breguet. I mean, come on.
It's astonishing, like, you know, just.
Can you hear us, Stephen? You're still, you're frozen in time here.
Maybe you want to try that again, Stephen. I got a message saying that device is not connected. So if you can hear us, I'm sure you can. Try that again, and we will hopefully get you back in again.
Here.
For sure. So
what I was saying is you know, that road to get there, that, you know, that's where the knowledge was back then. Even the WOSTEP curriculum was not instituted worldwide just yet.
There's just while we're waiting for Stephen, there's a question from one of our watchers there, Mohammed Haji, who's asking just what are the costs involved in building your workshop? I guess that's how long is a piece of string, really, like, it's
we're back. It's a painful dependent.
We're back. Hey.
All right, my man.
I'm assuming it's mine. I'm assuming it's my side. It's a bit weird.
It seems whatever it is, it doesn't matter as long as we have you back, bro.
Yeah.
Well, technical difficulties can happen. As long as we can keep you and pick your brain and somehow give knowledge to other collectors and other watchmakers or people thinking about becoming a watchmaker. You know, the pain and pleasures that are involved, and the artistic creation that we get to do, and that's why we're here. We'll get to that question if that's okay with you, Johnny. It's actually a good question. We can speak together with Stephen about.
Totally. That's Mohammed's question. I don't know if you didn't see it, Stephen, but this is from one of the people who are watching tonight, Mohammed Haji, who's asking me what are the costs involved in building a workshop, and I imagine that is just.
Let's build up to that. We'll get to that for sure. But I just want to travel down the end of Stephen's road, which brings us
sure
kind
thing.
of to that. Yeah. So
totally,
and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, at a very young age, Stephen, you gained extensive knowledge in after sales restorations, which was I try to preach this to everyone, and I actually try to preach collectors to be aware of what they're buying in independence, because what someone like Stephen learns sitting at a bench ripping apart all different timepieces, that's his knowledge for when he builds his own of what not to do. And if we don't have that knowledge, and a person say just comes from school and builds a watch, or is just a very wealthy person who would like to put his son in business, of those stories that me and Stephen hear all the time, or Switzerland hears all the time, please be wary, because we're looking for independent watchmaking in itself. What we create, what Stephen creates, these will be around for centuries and centuries and centuries.
Definitely.
Stephen's timepieces, he's going to be dead. You know, we hope he lives a long time, a couple 300 years, but he's not going to be here in 302 years to fix your watch. Okay. And what he creates, he creates, I've seen his timepieces. Everything is overbuilt 50 times, every wheel, every pinion, every shaft, every bridge, everything. And that's because of the knowledge he just told you, sitting at a bench, ripping apart some of the world's finest timepieces, seeing what's right to do, what's cool, and getting to that complication level like I did. And sometimes we retreat when we make our own. It's like, you know what? We saw all those complicated stuff and how easily they're not just break, but just malfunction. It's just part of micromechanics and part of mechanics, that when we build a watch, we want to do it simplistic, using less parts so it won't break and overbuild them. And I know, Stephen has that kind of principle in almost everything he does, from what I can tell. That's for sure. So Stephen, eventually, let's kind of skip forward, because we have only about an hour here. If you could still hear me, because you're frozen in time again. Let's talk about the beginning, way back in 2006, 2007, and setting up shop and making your first movements and independence, and what that means to you.
Yeah, well, sure. Setting up.
Okay.
Becoming.
We lost you again, Stephen.
Down, Stephen. I'm not sure what we can do here. Like, Stephen, you're moving there. Let's see. Let's go again there. Shoot. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Excellent. Yep.
So, I mean, to become independent, it happened in two stages, if you like. I started working for companies making complications for bigger brands as an independent. And an awful lot of guys did that, coming out of Claret and coming out of Renna. Pappy, Bart and Tim did the same thing. Peter Spitz did it. There was an awful lot of people doing the same thing. Carrie did it. And we got an opportunity back in 2003, I think 2004, where we met two collectors at a barbecue up in the Valley du Joux, organized by Ron Court. And these two guys were talking to us during the barbecue, and they turned around and they basically suggested it. They said, two fantastic American guys, Tom and Rudy, and they basically said, well, why don't you two, make your own watch and do it for us? So they essentially commissioned two pieces, and Johnny, you showed the photograph earlier there. That's the piece.
Yep, which is the tourbillon.
The tourbillon, in platinum. They commissioned that piece, and
look at that.
That was the start of the brand.
Well, that's certainly set the look of where you were coming from, your heritage, and so much just in that one piece. And to come out of the gate, back then with a tourbillon, It's not what independent watchmakers are doing today. You know, it's just so everyone should understand. This is way back in the time machine when you know, tourbillons were not so easy to manufacture.
Yeah,
No,
like, to be
it's
clear,
spectacular, isn't it?
to be clear, we used, you know, components from Claret, but nevertheless, you know, a lot of that watch is ours as well. But it was the start, and Dan, as you said, from the word go, we always considered, how do watchmakers repair these watches in 50, 100 years?
Mm-hmm.
Will they last? Are they strong enough? You know, all these questions that came with the experience of working in restoration, working in different companies, and you know, there's an awful lot of watches, and especially high-end watches, been even been designed by, they're not even watchmakers, you know, designed on CAD. They look great on a screen, but they won't last one generation, never mind several generations, you know.
That's
because
Stephen. Yeah, this is the message that that I try to get out to everyone with whoever I'm interviewing. You know, the collectors who sometimes we buy things, we purchase things because they look a certain way. But what we do as independents, it really has to be known and spread. True independence. I mean, you're the innovator from the way back machine. Is to get out that message that what we're building here is the same as, you know, in the 17 and 1800s. That stuff is still coming across our bench, and that's the way you're building your timepieces. And not only that, they're overbuilt, but they're just built to last forever. And we build them so any competent, you know, watchmaker in the future who's traditionally trained, can repair any piece inside your timepiece. They can, if they can't get the piece, the collector doesn't need to think like this. You ready? Oh, it's not a big brand. How am I going to get parts? Because I've heard that question. I've seen it in so many magazines by collectors, and we need to get that message out that what we're creating is a million times better than that cookie cutter stuff that you can buy where there's 10 of them in a showcase, or one in every showcase across the world. Because any part inside of Stephen's watches can be made from just brass, German silver, or steel by any competent watchmaker for thousands of years ahead. So there is no worry.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
That's the message we definitely got to get out. And we only learned that from our knowledge, what comes across our bench in the past, right, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, in the past few weeks, I have a very good friend and client, and he sent me a watch from a big brand. I won't mention the brand, but the escapement is in silicon, and one of the teeth on the escape wheel is broken. And I mean, that's it. Yeah, I can't even source, because in the meantime, the actual company that made the mechanism, the movement, have gone bust, or they've been changed hand a few times. There's no proper record of parts, and that's it. So you know, we have to make a new wheel in steel to replace this ridiculous silicon one. And I mean, it's scandalous, because there's no forethought. There's no, you know, they're not thinking. It's like, I hate to say it almost, but it's like built-in obsolescence. You know, they don't care if the watch is going to last or not. And
yeah, I know a lot of us have tried to warn collectors about this. I've seen that many people actually speak out about it, which in the past, just so you know, it's just like any other industry. A lot of people won't say anything. They might lose their job or whatever it might be. But being independents, luckily, this is the same as music, thrash metal. You know, we speak our mind. That's what this show is all about, basically, to try to pull some crap out of Stephen, and tell you the truth. So anyway, so there it is. There's your truth about silicon from the horse's mouth. We've been trying to warn you and tell you. Let's stick with traditional ways, methods, steels. just for me in the United States, trying to get the proper steel to make my pinions in this country it doesn't exist. You know, so I'm going through those extra steps through friends and this and that, and people who have to go send me things here just so I build my timepieces so that they will last out of traditional metallurgy. You know, so you know, that's the message we're trying to get across to collectors, that you don't have to worry about independence, because we're used to fixing everyone else's stuff, so we want our stuff to last, and that's why you're paying a premium, not just for our art and our exclusivity. But we taking that not just a little bit of extra time, but it's way past that. It's into the stratosphere of how long our stuff will last. We hope. We all make mistakes. We're all human, and we all are artists as well. And it is a machine. So, but we've all seen a lot, especially someone like Stephen, who's had complications. Obviously, I can relate. We had the same job in our past.
Is the frailty of silicon, for example, in the tooth in the go for it, my friend. Yes. Is the frailty of silicon actually, is that a common thing? Is it?
It's. I mean, it's.
Or is it going to be?
I mean, it's a fantastic material in so much as, you know, it's the precision in which it can be made is astonishing. You know. You know, one of the processes, it's etched like a microchip, you know, and you're talking like nanometers, but it's like glass, you know. And the thing is, there's another upside to this. I think I don't know exactly the details, but as I understand, a Swatch Group now, for example, are going to put it into a lot of their new watches, into the escapements. There's another upside to it. It's extremely precise, but once, much like a chip coming out of Intel or somebody else, once it's in production, it's extremely cheap to make. So I think, you know, okay, I don't have Mr. Hayek beside me to defend himself, but to me, it looks like less care about, you know, will the watch last, and more about, well, you know, we put the same escapement in all our different brands.
Bean counting here. I was talking about bean counting.
They're getting rid of human jobs as well. They don't need a person who's sitting there bending over coils and, you know, and bending the hairspring and attaching it, or, you know, it's all just on one process. And
you don't have to set the escapement to just fit. Yeah.
Okay for inexpensive watches, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, any watch that has that kind of stuff inside of it, you know, I would bypass and run. Actually, run in the other direction. So let's move on. So Stephen, your shop, where are you working? Let's back up. In 2007, 2008, you launching your company. You set up shop in Ireland, and you had a nice workshop there. I remember seeing some pictures in the Wayback Machine of your Schaublins and your Hausers and stuff. Where exactly was that shop? Is that shop still there, or did you move it? Where are you located now?
That shop is still there, but that was John's shop. And all the while he had that, I had the same, you know, much the same here in Switzerland. So
in Neuchâtel, isn't it? Yeah.
Like I moved to the course, but see, my fault, because like Dan's gone, and I see you.
It's breaking up. No, it's breaking up a wee bit again. More is the pity. I can still see you, Dan. I can still.
It's the power of the Neuchâtel internet.
I don't know. It's like. Keep going anyway, Stephen. If we can't hear it, we'll have to. What I'm going to propose anyway is, because we're already at 40 minutes. If need be, I'm going to invite you to do this again. But let's go for now. Anyway, it looks like you're back on again. So,
can you hear us, Stephen?
Yeah, I could hear.
Go ahead.
So you had an identical shop, pretty much, to your brother in Neuchâtel. You have
in actually we shared the workshop. It was very big, separate ateliers. But
right, we're losing most of this here. Right, we're losing most of this here, unfortunately, and
we're gonna have to recheck back in and when
because we want to really hear this story. And,
greatly.
So there's no point in.
This is the answer to that gentleman's question. When I want to know, as everyone else, we all want to know what what's in it, what tools are we using? Is he using in his machine shop? How is he making timepieces? And that's what I'm trying to get out of Stephen. So hopefully we can get him back.
And no, I can still see like it looks like you're ready to go there, Stephen. But you still are you hearing both of us, Stephen?
Yeah, well, actually, I can hear and see both all the time.
We're losing you.
Well, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. So it goes through little waves, and where it comes in very strong, and then it drops off for a moment or two. So to me, at the minute, it looks like you're back on. So let's keep going here. And so, Stephen, will you come back and do this again sometime? Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry if this is my fault.
It's not your fault at all.
No, it seems it's just
Dan's fault.
It's Dan's fault. I'll take the blame. I'm good. I'm good taking the blame. That's not a problem at all. Blame it all on me. Put it all on me.
On the drummer.
Signal there. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The weather here is absolutely terrible, so it could be that. I don't know.
Are you having thunderstorms? Yeah.
It's really poor weather now the last couple of days. So
right. That's possibly atmospheric. Anyway, so sorry for cutting up this valuable time, but no, we have got to. Well, you've actually set yourself up in Neuchâtel, and McGonigle is now headquartered, and operations are all carried out of your atelier in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So every McGonigle watch is now being entirely manufactured there, and I know yourself and John were together for a good number of years. You both established the brand. I think. I've been in a family business myself with my brothers, and sometimes we want to go and do our own things, and within that sort of sphere. So I think, Joe, it is pretty much common knowledge that you are running McGonigle watches now, and you've got a couple of other projects on the line, as has John, which is fantastic. So both of you are absolutely keeping you're keeping McGonigle going, and John has a very exciting project that I think is going to see the light of day in the next week or so. Which is
Johnny,
all right.
do you have a picture of a Tuscar or anything there that you can throw up?
A picture of Tuscar, like this one.
There you go.
All
right.
So
now,
yeah.
All right. So if everyone can see this masterpiece, because just looking at this in the Wayback Machine for me made me start thinking of all kinds of intense ways that I can make my own timepiece. This is not coming out today. This is way back. And it's, as I said earlier in the introduction, this is still 10, 12, if not 20 years ahead of its time. And if you have a chance to speak with Stephen and order one of those for yourself, I mean, I would jump on it. I mean, I look at the balance bridge. I look at, a solid gold escape wheel. I don't even think people realize this.
No, it is. We're going back there again. Look at it again. It is absolutely breathtaking. So it is. I see different things in it. I know that John and Stephen grew up along the banks of the River Shannon, and which is Ireland's biggest river that runs right down the length of the country. And in that watch, I can see sort of influences of that upbringing, where I think the balance cock, to me, it looks like a salmon. The undulation of the bottom part of the dial, it's like a current.
The balance cock is metal. I don't care what anyone says.
It's metal. Of course it is.
Come on. I mean, give me a break, It's totally metal. The watch definitely appears all kinds of metal heads across the world. That's the bottom line. I think it's the first metalhead watch before even I could get to make one.
It is heavy metal, that absolutely.
Hey Johnny, can I tell the story to Dan about I told you during the week about?
Please do, yeah.
because Dan, I never told you this, but this is going back to when I was, well, maybe you don't hear this, how young I was, but my brother Connor, especially my brother Connor, so he's a year younger than me, and my cousin Andrew, they were complete metalheads, complete and utter metalheads. And they were the ones who introduced me to Anthrax. And I don't know if you think, how weird you think this is, but like, I don't know why I honed in on this, because as I said at the beginning, I was definitely nowhere in my head was I aiming towards being a watchmaker. I had no plans at all. But like the Persistence of Time album, and specifically Got the Time, the song, the really short 2 minute 40 seconds, whatever. Mm-hmm. I swear to God, on the cassette tape that Connor had, I think I wore that down to inaudible because I played it so many times. Do you not think that's absolutely weird that, like, you're a watchmaker today, I'm a watchmaker, and that just caught me? I wasn't like being philosophical about it or anything at the time. I just thought, this is a fucking brilliant song,
Yeah. And, well, what's cool is,
absolutely.
NASA also thought the same thing, and they, for the first 10 songs they ever put on a rocket ship going anywhere, as far as I know, they sent that up to Mars, and every morning the lunar rover of 2012 was awoken by a different song. One was Frank Sinatra, one was the Beatles, one was U2, and the heavy metal song they picked was Got the Time. So I'm the only person who has 2 top 10 hits on 2 different planets.
Hey, I didn't know that about Got the Time at all.
Oh, you didn't know that? No, it was like worldwide news. Yeah, it was really cool. And truthfully, that's my coolest claim to fame. I don't care about any awards. I mean, come on, they're headbanging on the Martians. They're headbanging. Come on.
Definitely.
And that's really all I care about is I want to see Martians. America just sent Elon Musk with SpaceX. We're getting ready to go to the moon again. I don't care about any of that. All I want to do is get to the moon because I want to see a Martian. Get to
yeah.
And they're going to be there holding my cassette like you were.
Wearing Anthrax t-shirts.
No, you know what I found out is in my walks in watchmaking all through Switzerland and working over there and all that kind of stuff, I couldn't believe how many metalheads there were everywhere. So your story radiates. I'm glad to show the world that watchmakers are not just these little old men with gray beards like me on top of a Swiss mountain in Le Brassus alone, or with their one old guy with a cane, making stuff by candlelight. We're metalheads. We're cool. We're regular people. Stephen's having a beer. But on the flip side of that, most of the people I meet, it's just like meeting another incredible musician who's avant-garde, who's out there, who's a true musician. His music sounds like nobody else's. That's who I'm talking to here, everyone. This is someone just like that, but flip it over to timepieces. And Stephen is separate from the herd. He's separate from the rest. He doesn't want to be part of the rest. His art speaks for itself. It's stratospheric stuff into the future. So yeah, that's really cool that you wore out some cassettes. That just shows us how old you freaking are anyway.
But did you at the time, like when you were playing that music, did you have in your head, I'm going to be a watchmaker someday? I know you have watchmaking in your family, but
right. I wasn't planning on doing it because of the height that we achieved through hard work and perseverance and being told we can't, and the music will never fit in. It sounds like toilet water when you flush the toilet and all that kind of stuff. I've told that story numerous times. But once we got to a certain level, I really didn't think I'd be doing anything else in my life. That was my love, my passion. But I was still buying watches, collecting watches. I didn't think, but the day I knew I had enough, I knew exactly what I was doing. And that's where I went. I needed to get my papers. Back then, we didn't have any other way to get parts accounts, as you know, to do after sales service and own your own shop, to get Rolex parts or whatever parts. We had to have the Wo-Step paper, So I was on a quest the day I walked off the stage and said that was enough. It's time to go to school. Yeah. So somebody had this question and we were getting cut off, so I want to get this. he had asked, about workshops and, what it costs. We won't get into cost or anything like that, but you have a workshop set up in Neuchâtel. You have Hauser jig borers, you have Chablin. So what do you have in your workshop to create your art for the watchmakers that we're all tool freaks that love to know? Eventually, once I can travel, I'm going to be visiting and infiltrating all the people that we interview. If they like it or not, it doesn't really matter. They have to let me in. But if you could just give us a quick clue of, your special machines and stuff, and that kind of insight, it would be great for the people that are watching.
Yeah, I have all the necessary manual machines, as all the ones you've mentioned. Recently I got a few years ago I got an Agathon, which is a bit of a treat. We've also actually moved from Neuchâtel. We bought a house in a village not so far away, so the place is a bit of a mess at the moment. I'm actually going to build a workshop on the ground floor, so everything's up in the air, but hopefully when you get here it'll be finished, and that'd be great. I'd love to show you that. I have to confess, one thing I don't have, like, from day one, and this was a conscious decision, that we, for example, all our main plates, we have a guy in Saint Croix. He's one of the best guys in the business. He makes stuff for the very, very best brands. I don't think I can mention any of them because that'd be a train of confidence, but he's sensationally good. And I knew that even well, Dan, yourself, you can own a CNC machine, but to operate it properly is quite a different matter. I mean, I've gone
2 years of school for me so far.
I mean, it makes sense, but even still, then, I mean, I know guys trained on CNC machines, but as a watchmaker, they hand you a part, and you said, no, look, it has to do this when it's finished. It's, it can't be. You can't leave it like this. So, and this guy, and the understanding of metal, how it reacts when it's been cut, what it does at certain temperatures, what speed it's cut at, and so on and so on. So I have got a guy. I would rather, instead of me saying I'll do it okay, he does it perfectly. And
right.
I've no issue, and I don't hide that fact. I have no issue telling people I didn't do that, somebody else did.
Yeah, but Stephen, what I know you haven't seen any of the interviews I've done. I speak openly about educating collectors on that word CNC. How what we use is not what ITA uses, where stuff is literally like it comes off CNC machines and other robotic things where it's like a swatch. It's just put together by other people. What you get in your hand is as raw as if it came off a Hauser manual jig bar. We still have hundreds and hundreds of hours to do to most parts, and it's just raw. It's just a way for you to get a repeatable part. Number one nameplate and number 27 nameplate, at least all the jewel holes, everything we need to do what we do is the same, and that's what we strive for. But as far as it's raw. I try to get that message out to everyone. How if we didn't use prototype CNC machine, if we don't know how to use it, it's not so easy to plug it in. Like, we're not making a bicycle part. What Stephen was saying holds true, and I can be attest to that because I make some of my parts via the CNC machine that I had to build myself. It's raw. It's very, very raw, and you have to know everything he just said about metallurgy, because you have to be a watchmaker. I don't know how else you can run a CNC machine for parts that we do. It's impossible. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we are all open about it, Stephen, but the message is getting out. It's not a regular CNC machine we use. We're calling them prototype machines because that's what they are. They're really meant to do prototypes, 1 to 5 pieces of whatever it may be.
But there's a question as well of being able to eat. It makes sense as well. There's only so much you can do and hope to survive. I mean, I think one thing that's not talked about very often, and it should be perhaps spoken about a little bit more, is that there might be independent watchmakers out there, and I mean real independence, either solo independence or or small businesses, where the first thing you should do, regardless of you like their watch, you don't like the watch, the quality isn't perfect, or however which way they go, is they should be commended for even trying to do it, trying to go out on their own. And if you haven't done it, you don't know how hard it is. And that alone is, I say, hats off to anybody who tries, because it's a huge step, and you're never going in it for the money. You're not going to go in for better health or whatever. It's tough. And before anything else starts, before the criticism starts about the work or the quality or this or that or blah blah blah, if somebody goes down the road, and Dan, you know what it's like now, it's just if you don't believe in yourself and just keep plowing on, it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing, and people just don't know.
Well, Stephen, I always flip-flop between music, because my music that I did in the past is not, pop music and stuff like that, where I could just fit in, and play this music because that's the style that's in this year. It's the same for my music as it is for watchmaking. And someone once said something to me and said something like 99% of the people will hate your art, but the 1% that do, or even 0.5%, those are the only people you need to concentrate on, because there's 8 billion people, if not more, in this world. So what do you care? It's you. You're leaving your legacy. So whatever that fight is, that's what this show is about. People like Stephen telling us his fight. He's still fighting. We're all fighting. It's the same as music, to get our art out and our independence. So anyone that's stepping out of the box should be commended for whatever they're doing, as long as they're not just buying some cheap movement and popping it in a case and putting the word watchmaker on their Instagram, because that stuff pisses me off. And I'll be honest about it, because I don't really care. I don't have to care. I can say what I want, because I really don't care. I don't need your money. I really don't give a shit, personally. Pardon my language, but we're all, and I'm probably speaking for a lot of people, but I'm not going to say all their names. Let me say all their names. No, I'm not. That's not fair. It's not okay. People like Stephen have spent a lifetime gaining knowledge, and these are the people that need to be supported. These are the people that need, like I said previously, pre-order the watch. Pre-order watches from young watchmakers. Give them the money they need to get through and get their art out there. I think that's what Stephen's kind of saying. If you step out of the box,
I think it's drifting toward that. There's increasingly there's an awareness of that. The one thing that has really occurred to me over the whole coronavirus lockdown situation is that we're on the mainstream brands, we're hearing of catastrophic fall-offs, which will probably filter down because of the high street shops being closed. But the independent guys that I've been talking to all are extremely busy. And I think
I'm like, I didn't even start, and I think I got a 3-year wait almost. Everyone I talk to is the same way, because I think everyone has already saw through that old smoke and mirrors stuff don't work anymore. That the true watchmakers can now be independent. They can go down the route that Stephen has taught us to do. And I'm saying that again. Everyone has to understand that some of these people that I'm speaking with here, these are like, if this was music, they're walking legends. Stephen has set the pace for what independent watchmaking is today and where it's leapfrogging it into the future. He's taught us how to do. He stepped out of the box when it wasn't cool to step out of the box. Yeah. He left his paycheck, saved enough money to buy the machines we need. I don't think anyone understands how hard it is to get the machines that we need, even to do, even if someone is making our main plate, which everyone now knows is the hardest thing to repeat and make and time-consuming thing. So even if someone else is making the main plate, there's over 200 and some odd parts we have to manufacture, polish, rhodium plate, make fit together in a micro machine and make it work. And then put it in a capsule and then hand it over to you and make and make it work for a very long time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even we don't even need a watch. So I think independence has really, they kind of laughed at us. I think we're shining now because the reality is nobody really needs a watch. So what we do really isn't just creating something to look at your wrist and see the time. What we're creating is art. It's micromechanical art. And that's where our heads are at. And someone like Stephen is off the chain. I mean, look, these are minute repeaters. I mean,
minute repeaters. The cure.
These are minute repeaters, and they, you know what? They represent not only his art, but they represent his country. We didn't even touch upon the struggle it must have been to do this, at first in Ireland.
Can I actually just point out a few things on that picture there, Johnny?
Would love to hear it. Yes, would love to hear that, Stephen.
Because I think it's missed often, and there's so much happening. I mean, and as well, the reason I want to bring it up is, part of running a business is, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. They look at a Patek or Audemars, which, great, they're lovely watches and everything, but
yes.
These are huge corporations with teams of people doing different things, and it's a conveyor belt for quite in most cases. But this piece, for example, the decoration, the design of the decoration was done by my sister, who's been involved in most of the all the decoration for the engraving in each piece. And I asked her to do quite a tough thing here. I sent her the design. I sent her the design of the bridges and said, let's put something really Irish, but we'll do the opposite to normal engraving. This relief engraving. So we take away everything that isn't showing the design. It's much more involved.
Yes.
It takes much longer to engrave. And it's tough for her because she has to understand what's in my she has to understand the mechanical side of things as well. It's quite tricky. But
exactly, yeah.
The movement is deliberately designed to help this happen. If you look up in the top right hand corner, there are 5 bridges all joined together, but there's no bevel so that they meet face to face, so the engraving can flow from one to the next.
Yeah, it's astonishing. I'm just going
to
see it.
They have to line up seamlessly,
Amazing.
And this goes back to the guy I work with as well in Saint Croix. If the bridges aren't made with absolute precision, that can't happen. It would look bad. You'd have lines that don't line up properly, and so just in that picture, there's the guy in Saint Croix. There's my sister. There's the lady who engraves it up in the lock, like extraordinary talent,
yes.
And just a huge team of people. The thing about that is, I'm getting on my high horse now. I'm going to start bitching, but I think it's a great watch, and as an independent, I have to put it at a quite, price very competitive. In fact, much lower than any of the big brands, because most people, as you said, Dan, they'll just go, wait a minute, but sure, Patek do a minute repeater, must be better. The Patek is 100 grand more at least, and the team of people that worked on that watch to personalize it for that client. Right, the piece you showed there.
I'm going to try and get a zoom on that, Stephen. I haven't gone away. I'm trying to get a bigger image of that. So,
but the client who ordered that particular piece, he has several minute repeaters, and he said that now is his favorite piece. Wow. And he actually has a Patek, but that's how tough it is for independents. You have to be competitive, but it's impossibly hard, because if Patek Philippe, for example, I'm picking on Patek Philippe, but any big brand, they buy, say, for example, if they're going to make a minute repeater, they'll make 100, 200, 300 cases. We made 6 cases for that. If you go to any case maker and you say, I want 6 cases or I want 300 cases, they're going to give you 2 different prices. And with one of those prices, you can go off and buy a car and a holiday and maybe something else on the money you saved. And on the other one, the price is considerably more the lower you order, Yeah. So it's a really, really tough world to be working with such small numbers,
It's almost impossible outside of Switzerland. I think that as well. That's the thing that plagues independents still to this day, where we don't have manufacturers, who will do 1 to 10 pieces or 1 to 5 pieces of whatever we need, be it a case or a bridge or wheels or pinions or anything that we can't produce inside our shop. And someone had asked about that, and our workshops, we can't have a machine to help us as watchmakers to accomplish every task that's inside the movement, the mechanics of our timepiece within our shop. That's almost that's a feat accomplished that's seldom. So we have to go elsewhere to get certain things, certain little parts, a mainspring, jewels, this, that. Some people don't like to make cases or whatever it may be. And the big companies, like Stephen said, they'll order 100 or 1,000. So they're not even going to listen to us if we're knocking on the door going, "Can I have 2?"
Yeah, and they'll give you, and it's no exaggeration to say, if you say I want 2, they'll go, okay, it's 10 grand each. And Patek, or I won't say Patek anymore, but some big brand, they say I want 1,000 pieces, and they go, oh well, the price per piece is 6 grand or 7 grand. Work that out per piece. The savings are astronomical. I mean, it's impossible to compete with that.
Right. Well, we shouldn't have to, because what you create is light years above, anything else. Plus, what independence is where the collector and is buying a piece of you. He's buying your story. That's why I try to get the story, the perseverance of the master that's on here out there, because it's not just buying a watch. The big companies, whoever started the companies, those guys, they're long gone and dead. So what are you really buying? You're buying a manufactured story. It's the same in music. It's pop music. You're buying a manufactured person who didn't even write the song. Most of the time, they didn't even sing it. Okay, it's a fakery. Yeah. So when you're in independence, you're literally talking straight to the master.
I mean, like this type of thing is good. I mean, what I think it would be great to get out there more. I don't know how it could be done, but I think there's numerous different levels of watchmaking. And for example, there's like the Philippe Dufour's, like he's up there on his own with 1 or 2 others. I have no problem saying I don't come close to that man. To know him is a privilege. I'm not nearly as he's got as much talent in one of his fingers as I do my whole body, but it's tiered in so many levels, and it's not to say that the next level down is worse or bad compared to the one above it. I just think there's no harm, or I think it should be highlighted a little bit more what all these levels are. Like we mentioned Rolex. I mean, Rolex watches, I don't like the style of them, but as a big production watch, they're sensationally good. They're really good quality. That's one level. Then you have, like, say, for example, Stepan Sarpaneva. Like, he's a hero for me. He goes out on his own. He goes out on his own. I think he stands alone in independence as what he does,
Yeah,
and he answers to nobody. He just does his own thing, and it's pure class,
Yeah, that's then you have, again, that's like thrash metal. I agree, big hero of mine.
I am trying to entice him to come on here. I would try.
And he's a metal dude. He's a total metal dude.
He's proud to me, man. He looks like it.
He's straight up metal.
Yeah,
big time. Yeah.
So wait. Let's just take a quick second here, because people who are watching this should know, that Sarpaneva, if you're watching, dude, you are a huge influence to so many you don't even know.
Totally, yeah.
I tell that, Stephen, to a lot of people that have been interviewing here, and they don't understand it either. They think like I'm brown nosing them and I got dog crap on my nose and stuff. But it really isn't. The stories that I tell are absolutely true, that the impact that these people have made on me in my past, like when Eva was on here and stuff. And it's not brown nosing. I still stare at pictures of the Tuscar, so you all have impact. Sarpaneva, his dial, the way he does things, his complication, and it's just like this to the world. It's great.
He is very much like you. I find that with a lot of you guys with the independence, and with your typical modesty, you're doing yourself down there, like when you're talking about some of the Philippe Dufour, I agree, is definitely on a platform that is looked up to by all the other watchmakers, basically.
So, Stephen, continue on. You were saying the plateaus of watchmaking.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I think it's important. I'm not doing myself down. I just think it's important I think it's like the elephant in the room. It's rarely talked about. You know, they're like Steve McDonald again, a level. I mean, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
But
We have a question about him.
I don't understand how his brain works. You know, I mean, and it's not just his brain; it's his hands. You know, he's top quality watchmaker. You know, and I do not, cannot, am not at the same level as him, and I never will be, and I can't hope to be. But I have no issue saying that. But I think it should be brought out and said. And I'm not just talking about the top end. It should go the other side as well. There are people worse than me, so I will. I will say that. But you know, there's
awesome.
I don't think there's any harm in saying that this is what you're getting, and this is why these guys are so good at what they do, and da da da.
Honesty is it. I love it. Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be. Sometimes I read something, and a whole pile of watchmakers are put under the same umbrella, and it's just not correct. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's ill-informed, you know, and I think we could all gain if you know, with the internet and the websites and the blogs and all that, customers are getting a lot more informed and educated, which is fantastic.
Definitely.
But there's still a bit of a way to go, you know, which I think would be good.
I think the independents are on the rise. I really do. I think this is the age of the independent. It's something that I have noticed over the last 20 years, just even in the way that you get your message out, the way that you whenever I started really paying attention to independence, I used to be really amazed at the quality of the workmanship and the bad quality of the photography that they were using to get do you know what I mean? They were creating these absolute masterpieces, and they were just taking unprofessional photography. They just did not do the watch any justice at all. And I think that has been something that the internet has helped independent brands really catch on to, how much the internet is a great leveler. And if your images look astonishing and are breathtaking and captivating,
I think a lot of that has to do with a school called KWHCC, where as part of the curriculum now, they're showing the watchmakers how important it is to utilize the tools of this generation for your business, because going to school for watchmaking is not just about fun. What do you want to do with it? So if you do want to be in your restoration or whatever it's going to be, or build your own brand, you know, they're teaching them that the importance of clear pictures, using Instagram, using YouTube. You have your own television channel. We didn't have that, me and Stephen. So we're still looking at the world. Well, I'm a person who obviously grasps future technology and so forth. I think you know that from my past in music, and push, learn about new things and move with them, because you can't fight technology, you will lose. That's the bottom line. That's just the way it works. But we didn't have that back then. So the pictures from way back in our Wayback Machine were as good as we could ever do, because we're too busy sitting at the bench back then. We didn't have time for that. Yeah. And we weren't going to hire somebody because we didn't have $5,000 to hire someone, right, Stephen, to take a picture and get it in one ad and in a magazine and hope that that magazine, you know, sold something or got us some business. It was the same as in music. It was a risky money we didn't have. You know, we'd rather buy tools with that money. That was it. It's a different era now. I totally agree with you, Stephen. I think actually, I thought about this previously, that there should be more information for collectors as to the tiers of what independent watchmaking is, what everyone is doing, so they're more aware. Because you always get that same question: do you make the mainspring and the jewels in your shop? You know, and it's like, that's an industry. No one makes jewels and mainsprings in their shop. And all of a sudden, oh, then you're not an independent watchmaker. And that doesn't even make any like feasible sense. So sometimes they're not educated correctly. I think we need a place where to say, yes, independence is very broad. There's some people that say I'm an independent. They started that way as one person, but now they own a $300 million manufacturing facility, and every part of the watch is decompartmentalized, being assembled just like Rolex, almost like Rolex, but somewhat like Rolex. Is that real independence? So that should be one category, and then filtered down to what each person is doing, all the way to the point of it's one guy alone, and he truly is in his house with his machines, making his timepiece.
Yeah.
And that is it, making an in-house movement. An in-house movement is not in a $500 million facility with 75 workers. Let's be honest. That's not independence, okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit of education.
Sure.
To people that are watching, that we are in broad times. You know why? It really is a blessing, Stephen, because independence, it shows we worked. They tried to squash us, the big companies, and they laughed at us, right? When you were starting, are you going on your own, dude? You're dead. It ain't gonna work, right? Way back when, right? You're dead. You're still here, and you're still you're just starting, as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, the Tuscar, still light years ahead.
Yeah, it's magnificent.
It's just like Sarpaneva's light years ahead. He's going to be discovered way later. Yeah. He's going to be driving his Tesla one day. I got my battery powered car.
No way, man. How can you
I'm not sure he'll ever drive a Tesla.
No, how can you be an independent watchmaker and drive a fucking Tesla, man? In all fairness, surely there's something wrong there. Listen, I know we've passed I always say 75 minutes, so we start to see the eyes dropping off here. But we've got a question, Stephen, and because I know I would love to hear this. We talked about it earlier. From Mohammed Haji again has asked the question that you just mentioned, man, there a few minutes ago, Stephen McGonigle. Will there ever be a collaboration between you?
That'd be incredible. I mean, he could see me brown nosing him the whole show. I mean, come on.
But there's already between who? Between
yourself and Stephen McGonigle.
Oh yeah. There's a design already finished. It's just a matter, and this goes back to the independent problem. It's my issue now is to finance the next step, and it's an extremely complicated piece, so it's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And it's the same world you're in, Dan. What I have to do now is crack on, trying to sell something that will finance the next project. So the design, the 3D, that stage is finished and done and dusted. It's over 2 years work already finished. I
cannot wait to see.
Now we just have to prototype. But,
so if anyone is listening, like I've previously said in almost every one of my shows, if a collector is listening, you are the dude that can pre-order too. And what that does is enable Stephen to keep working. Not keep working, but keep working on masterpieces that mainstream companies would never make in a million years. So if you're listening, here's your chance to have something that nobody else has, that's above pretty much anything else that's on the planet, and set forth. You could possibly set forth an entire business for somebody who certainly deserves to be pushed forward.
I'll give him a 2% discount.
What?
I give you a 2%.
You're cutting the retailer right there.
2% goes to me for pushing it, bro.
Yeah.
Funny thing that we mentioned this, Stephen, and just as we're drawn towards the end, it always really annoyed me that McGonigle is a brand that is recognized all around the world. It represents Ireland. It shows Irish craftsmanship in this extraordinary light. And it always frustrated me that the culture did not exist among Irish retailers to be able to get behind a brand like McGonigle. And, I know I knocked on one or two doors to see if it was possible. I know that you've been around the country yourselves and over time. Do you not think that as an Irishman, would you like to see Irish people being a greater awareness of what you're doing? As a matter of pride. As a matter of pride.
Yeah, just on a matter of pride, of course, I'd absolutely love it. I mean, I got the impression, in fact, I was told by one of our clients who owns a Minute Repeater, and he's an Irishman.
Yes.
He showed it to a big retailer in Ireland, in Dublin.
Yeah.
And they said that they wouldn't sell it because they wouldn't get the commission they were looking for.
Yeah. They make more selling. I heard probably from the same man that
I mean,
he would make
so
more profit selling a Patek Philippe at that price than he would selling McGonigle. And
I mean,
to me,
I understand if that's what you're in it for the money, but I just would have thought,
there's no emotion there. Yeah,
it's not a huge stretch to sell a McGonigle, to my mind, to sell a McGonigle now and again. But when I heard that, I wasn't hugely surprised. But the same shop was always saying to me, "Oh yeah, great, fantastic," but only in so much as, yeah, you do your work and
a novelty, and
don't bother us. But I mean, and to be clear, Applebee's in Dublin, they actually took our watch and had it on their shop front for a good long while. So I'm not talking about them, but
yes,
I have spoken to retailers in Ireland, and they could sell an Irish complication tomorrow. They've got enough clients.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
All they have to do is advertise it, and they'll sell it. That's a guarantee.
That's right. I've mentioned this to Dan as well. That's part of what I want to do, is to raise awareness here.
Collectors should know, because we do get a lot of questions like, why are you guys only sell direct? A lot of people, that's all what we'll do once we have enough clients or backlog. And I think you just heard it. How would you feel if we're independents, we're making maybe 1 to 5 pieces a year, if we're lucky, especially in extremely complicated timepieces like Stephen makes, and then you go to an AD and he wants he wants to make the same thing he's making off someone who's making tens of thousands of watches a year. It's very easy for them. It's easy for them to give away watches. They won't even put it in the showcase for someone to touch it and do something good for their country. And I get the same thing here, Stephen. I'm in the United States. It's a struggle here. I'm like the first one in 100 and something years to try to do what I'm doing here. It's like an impossibility. And I've reached out before. Luckily, I don't have to have that route. But I've had the same problem here. People ask for percentages. I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind, bro? Like, I'm asking you to do a favor for our country, and watchmaking. Like you said, it could be gone tomorrow. Like, you want me to sign an autograph? I don't sign autographs, but I'll do it for you. Do something for our country. That's what I'm here for, to help other young watchmakers, expand my company here, get 2 other people that come out of a traditional school where I can teach them what I know, like people taught you when you first came out of school. That's what we're here to do for our country. I'm not in Switzerland, I'm here, and America needs to, a stamp here, just like you're giving a stamp for your home country. Yeah. And I think people should not just look at a dollar, look at their country.
That's what I would love to see.
You're the top artist in as far as I'm concerned. It's obvious.
Without a doubt.
I mean, you don't want to, in a way, I'm judging without knowing their exact situation. You don't know their situation. But I would have thought, if, for example, I owned a watch shop and I was into watches, and somebody came in and said, this is Irish or this is American. Mm-hmm. What do you think? We put it up, at least put it in the window, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we apart from Applebee's, we never got that support.
That's that pisses me off a bit. But it's kind of an Irish thing too, Dan, because once I always compare it to the wine industry in Ireland, because I grew up in the drink trade, in the wine and spirits trade in Ireland, and whenever I was a young lad, I can remember a bottle shop, a liquor store in Ireland. If you were in your wine selection, might have 4 or 5 bottles of wine, and there were absolute generic table wine: Blue Nun, Black Tar, Pied d'Or, Mathieu Rosé, or if you're a wee bit risque, Paul Masson from California or something like that. But that was the extent of the offering in the Irish to most Irish people. There were specialists, but once Irish people became aware of the complexities and the stories behind the wines, in 30 odd years, Ireland has become one of the most sophisticated wine markets in the world. That's because we don't grow any, we don't produce any wine, so we're free to import it from all over the world. And there's no, if you go to France, you get French wine, not much Italian, Spanish, or German, or whatever, and very little New World. So I think independent watchmaking, I can see parallels there, that Irish people aren't really aware yet of the sophistication, the exclusivity of a hand-manufactured watch. You know, I can remember famously a bank manager that I went to see years ago was trying to develop Chronolux and into a bricks and mortar platform here in Ireland. And the guy was he drives a 70 grand Audi, but he's wearing a $70 fucking watch on his wrist. You know? And I said, man, your car might be nice, but you can't drive it into a restaurant. And you stop looking sophisticated. You stop looking sophisticated when you cross the door of that restaurant. Like, you know, your $70 watch looks like a fucking $70 watch, you know.
I know from playing in your country, and I know we're getting to the end here, so I just want to say
yes.
What we in those times in the late 80s and 90s, for us to get ready to come to Dublin. And of course, I used to play Belfast like a bunch of times with Ozzy. We would go with Ozzy when you had your uprisings and the difficulties in your country, like, you know, not similar, but, you know, as you can see, we're having some of that here, which is insane. You're a very passionate country. Mm-hmm. That's what we knew before we got there. You know, not just passionate about beer. You're just a passionate people, and how they should be embracing someone such as yourself, who's gone that route that is not traditional, and coming back to your country and creating art at the highest level. You know, you create mechanical art. You don't make a watch, Stephen. You make micro-mechanical art at its highest level. It should be sure, you know, let me do a favor for you. Let us put this in the window. It's our heritage. You know, this is going to be here forever. Let's keep it in our country.
And I wasn't asking. We were never asking to do it for free, you know. It was, of course, a commission was involved, but for them it was, I can sell a Patek.
But you know what?
Exactly.
No different than when we started music, Stephen. Stories we tell all the time. In the beginning of thrash metal, nobody wanted to listen to us. Nobody wanted to manage us. Nobody wanted to help us. No one even wanted to take our money to manage us. You know, you just got to keep pressing through, because what we do breaks rules. What we do is always, and it is way ahead of the traditional path in watchmaking as it was in music. So that's all we can do, is keep pressing through, because eventually, you know, someone is going to recognize us and recognize our art for what it is. And it already is there. We're already independents, and a lot of us, not me, but others that I look up to, like you, we're way ahead of those big brands that you had mentioned earlier and others. We are what you create is. It's just a fact. They can't catch us anymore. They laughed in the beginning back in the early 2000s that it'll never work, and look where we are. You know, independence in a whole is and it's just birthing its next level of traditional watchmakers that are in school now or graduating, because a lot of them, they're literally in school and like the school I mentioned earlier, they're training them even more than when we were there, Stephen, of how to make your own timepiece. You know, it's part of the curriculum is to take a 6498 main plate and do what you want with it. Make your own bridges, you know, make something while you're in school. Very few schools did that when we were there. You know, it was more about training watchmakers for restoration work and seeing who could have a complication brain and furthering them along to help where you ended up, where I ended up, and that kind of thing. So we're living in different watchmaking times.
You're right about the independents doing well. I mean, and Johnny, you mentioned it as well. I have to confess, my order list isn't nearly as good as yours, Dan, but and I don't have to do any traveling if I don't want to. I do not have to promote. We don't spend a cent on promotion, well, ever really. But from one end of the year to the next, no promotion, no traveling, and the watches do sell, albeit slowly and one by one by one by one. But I'm happy with that, you know.
That's your capacity, is it? Or do you have capacity to increase that? For example, could you double your production, Stephen?
See, Johnny, that's a big decision and a big step. I mean, Dan, you have to be in the same situation. Like a lot of lads have done that. Like, if you look at Carey, Barton Tim now, Roman Gauthier, like Roman Gauthier's Operation Sensation.
Yes.
They have a capacity, but the only way they can possibly have that capacity is having a team and a good team, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a big decision and it's a big step and it's a huge commitment, you know. And with it comes other problems, you know.
Yeah.
So
not everyone's independent.
We discussed that,
Stephen.
Stephen.
All have to get bigger.
We discussed that a lot, Stephen, with other people too. And you and I, because we're kind of old timers here, we've seen people who do get those orders and do go for it and going to keep building and building, and then they get stuck, and then they need money from somewhere fast. And especially in my country, you couldn't go to a bank and ask for money. They'd be like, "What, watchmaking? What is a watch? What do you know? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs."
Yeah.
And then they borrow money from some guy in a suit who doesn't understand how long it takes us to create what we create. And that guy cashes in one day and says, "I'm out. Close the shop." And by the way, I own 51%. And you and I have seen that countless and countless times happen to other people. And those people are back starting over again, making 1 to 3 or 5 specialty pieces from their home, and they're way happier. So I'm staying that way. All I want to do is create what I create, my top, you know, my own movement in house from soup to nuts is my dream, and that's happening. But I'd like to help other young watchmakers. That's what this show is for. Just showing them your struggles, everyone's struggles, everyone's pleasures, that it is worth it for our art to be independent and not have the boss, that the watch is our boss, and to help other watchmakers. If I can get 2 other young watchmakers fresh out of a traditional school coming into my shop, and they could learn a little or even teach me, as Frank Zappa said, you know, even the worst guitar player in the world, you're going to learn something from. You're going to learn how not to play like that worst guitar player in the world. It's the same kind of thing, you know. It's going to be that way. And you, as the head of complications, you were the head at Breguet, so you know how to send someone back to their seat anyway. So I did it, and you did it. Back to your seat. Still dust inside that.
Guys, we're over the hour and a half mark here, and you know, as much as I could continue doing this for the next hour and a half, the people who watch it, their attention span isn't just as long as ours. So I would love, for a start, first thing is to say, because we had about 5 or 10 minutes of glitches in the middle, Stephen, it all worked out perfectly after that. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'd love to invite you back again, because we'd like this kind of be a round table where the faces are familiar and where the conversation is free flowing and it's a bit of fun, and we all learn something as we go along too. So I am deeply honored. Stephen, yourself and your brother really opened my eyes to watchmaking here in Ireland, and that what was going on. I regret that by the time I did catch on, there was no educational system for me to go through. Also, as we touched on earlier on, I was in my 40s. It was young children. I couldn't just go and leave the country to go and follow this, but I followed it in a different way, and it's been the revelation of my life. And
yeah, you're helping big time.
Well, you know, that's enough. That's a mighty thing to say. It means a huge amount. But I just want to say thank you very much indeed from me, from the bottom of my heart, for coming along here tonight. And I really want to do this again, and in the next few months to catch up again and see what's happening.
Yeah, but for me, it's easy. It's pleasure. And to at last talk, Johnny, I'm talking to you all the time, but last talk to Dan is pure class. You know, pure class.
Brilliant.
It's the opposite. I can't wait to, you know, once I'm able to travel a little bit and head back over to Neuchâtel. Maybe me and you could take a walk into some of the watchmaking schools and just hang out a little bit, and I'll come to your shop. But I think this is a moment in time where we also need to thank Johnny, because Johnny is very much a part of the birth of independent watchmaking and getting the word out when we didn't have technology like this. He's an incredible writer that writes like nobody else. And his heart is truly in independence. And he's birthed many a people and shown people our art. And he's going to do it again in an entirely new way. Shortly, you'll see more and more of Johnny, and he's just a blessing to all of us. And if people who don't know who Johnny is,
thanks a million, man.
Call up some Google stuff, and you'll find out how old he is too. You know it was going somewhere, right?
Yeah. I sure knew it wasn't going to end in a compliment anyway.
Never, dude. Sarcasm is always there somewhere.
I love it, man. That's what you're raised on, But look, we've had a great response tonight from everybody who's been watching us. We've a lot of questions from people. I thank everybody who has tuned in to watch it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we didn't offend you if we said a rude word once or twice. In my opinion, there's not enough rude words on it, But so thank you very much indeed for everyone for doing that, and for Stephen. Thank you for from my own point of view. I really appreciate your kind words.
Thank you. Yeah, Stephen, seriously.
Hang about after I push this button, Stephen. So
I want to say thank you, Stephen, for your precious time. Thank you for your knowledge. To give to all of us around the world and to the future, because that's what these interviews are for. They're not for now. They're for people who can plug in later on and gain some knowledge, young watchmakers, collectors, and so on and so forth. And I'm still in awe of your work. The Tuscar, as I said, would be one of the only watches I would ever put on my wrist other than my own. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece that you should be back ordered 5-6 years for, and have the problems of trying to hire people and buy more tools and trying to go to the Swiss banks as an Irishman to get money.
That'll never work. It won't let me in the door.
Not the orthodox way, anyway. So
I will talk soon, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fantastic. Everybody, thanks a million for watching In the Metal once again. We're loving this. We're having the time of our lives, and it's fantastic bringing these absolute rock stars, literally and horologically, into the world. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because my daughter has just sent me a message saying you're a blessing to all of us. So I think sarcasm is strong in our house, and and my wife Sylvia feeling so blessed. Yeah, I am absolutely sure of that. Yeah. So anyway, folks, thanks so much, Dan. Stephen, hang about and we'll say goodbyes afterwards. But for everybody who's watching us yet again, thank you for sticking up with us for over an hour and a half. We're doing our best to keep it shorter, but once the crack's flowing, it's good. Thank you very much indeed, everyone, and we'll see you soon.